So good afternoon, everyone, or I guess for Jill, it's still morning, Monica, depending on where you're at. I'm in Chicago. Happy to have you join us for our second session on work-life integration. So this one is actionable commitments to create your ideal work-life integration. Before we get started with the program, just for those of you who may be new or those of you who are involved know this, but just wanted to share what the goal is of this Women's Laundry Network, who we are the ones sponsoring the event today. And it was founded as an effort to connect, collaborate, and empower women in the vended laundry industry. And it's a space for support, resources, leadership, and inspiration. So I think you will see that today in our program. So just so we have some idea of who's here, if you wouldn't mind typing into the chat your name, your business name, it's your laundromat or company or whatever, and where you are from, just to see where people are coming from. I think this would help Jill a little bit too, to see who's on today. So just a little bit about our presenter today, Jill Yashinsky-Wortoman. She is the CEO, founder of Momentum Coaching and Consulting. Here's a few bullets about her, where she went to school, some of her certifications, which are all impressive. And for those of you who were able to attend last time, you got a feel for her expertise. I want to be clear, if you did not attend the last one, perfectly fine. Fine to jump right in. So with that, Jill, I am going to turn it over to you.
Fantastic. Thank you. I am going to share my screen here. So give me just a second.
Oh, yep. I'll stop sharing and then you should be able to share.
It's not letting me yet. It's saying the host has it disabled.
Okay, hang on a second.
No worries. Technology is always fun. Well, thank you for sharing all of those and sharing my professional bio. What I always really want to tell people is, I'm a mom who got woken up a few times last night with a sick kiddo who managed to get the other kiddo on time to school this morning and, fed the chickens and the cats and did the dishes, right? So welcome to, I love professional bios and let's talk about real life too, right? What's actually happening for all of us. So perfect. It's right there. Thanks, Danielle.
Okay, great.
Yeah. So welcome back. We're going to talk again about the art of work-life integration. And so I see some familiar faces. Thanks for coming back. And I also see some new ones. And like Danielle said, jump in, join in. I'm going to do just a tiny bit of review from the last, just so you kind of know what we're talking about. But it should be hopefully easy for you to just get right on board. So just one quick thing as we set the stage for today, just think about maximizing today. Danielle and I were talking about it, right? She was like, oh, we have events coming up and all this stuff. Yes, September is insanely busy. I think we all think we get past summer, and then we're like, oh, it's going to be great. It's crazy busy. So know that if you need to eat lunch or do other things while you're here, that is absolutely welcome. And you made time to be here. So let's think about how we can maximize it. So it's being here. If you can, if you're in a space where you can have your camera on, would love to have your camera on and be able to see you. And I get it if that doesn't work for where you are today. And then join in the conversation. That can be raising your hand in Zoom to jump in. That can be.
So there's no fork thing.
That can be.
So what is it now? Is it just sitting in there?
Somebody is off mute.
Yep, I was going to say, if everyone can mute until you're ready to talk, that would be great.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you. And feel free to raise your hand, add in the chat. We definitely want to use the chat. There was a lot of connection last time with people going, hey, I'm trying to get into the industry or I need some ideas. So reach out, direct message, PM each other, and certainly ask questions. So, so with that, let's jump back in. So what we talked about last time was this idea that work-life balance kind of assumes that work is over here on one side and life is on the other side, and we're going to keep those two things in balance, right? We spend this part of our life earning for, and then just keep them balanced, no big deal. And I love if you ever type in work-life balance, right? It's people doing yoga and neat rocks stacked on top of each other and all of these things that I don't know about anyone else, but that is not my life. And that isn't the kind of balance that I could have, even if I thought that was realistic, which I don't. So we're talking about something that's actually hopefully better and more fulfilling than work-life balance. And what that is work-life integration. How is it that we can live in a way that we're fulfilled, that if we have to work, which I'm going to assume most of us do, because if any of you are independently wealthy and chose to be on this webinar today, like awesome, great, let's keep talking. But work probably is part of our lives. It is something that we have to have at this point, and that's awesome. And how do we keep that in its proper perspective while having a life outside of that that is everything that we want it to be? How can we fulfill that as well? So that's really where we're going to start today. And for those of you who were here last time, you remember we did this wheel of life. And if you're joining us today, you can do this right now. Draw a circle. You want to split it into 8 pie pieces, and then you can label it with what you see around the circle here. And then you rank each area, right? All we want to do is say, hey, 1 is in the middle. I'm not feeling very fulfilled. To 10 is like nailing it in that area. That area of my life feels awesome. And so again, if you want to do that, go ahead. But it's really just that opportunity to reflect. Oftentimes we're doing the things and we haven't thought about how we're actually feeling while we're doing them. So I'm going to use a term that we say in coaching sometimes, a fancy coaching question, really fancy. 3 words. What's here now? What are you noticing? For those of you who were with us last time, we talked about how to make little changes. What did you try to change? What worked? Maybe what didn't? And for those of you who came today and you weren't with us last time, what are like the mysteries of the universe that you're hoping we solve today? Like, what is the thing that we can clear up and wave our magic wands for you? So feel free to come off mute if you want. You can pop it in the chat. But what are you noticing from those who were here last time? What are you still thinking about? And those who are new?
I
Raina, I
resigned.
saw you pop up. Yeah, welcome back. Tell us what's here for you today.
I resigned from my job.
Oh my gosh. Okay, tell us more. Like what led you to that?
It was actually the catalyst was our last meeting and doing that whole circle. And I saw, gosh, I need to make some significant changes in my life. And really just diving deep into what exactly was the biggest problem that I had. And for me, it was my role in my job. The company is great. The people are great. I mean, I've known them for decades, but this particular job, the functions, the day-to-day was just not for me. And that was affecting me, my family, my time, everything. So I did this week.
Oh my gosh. Can I just say, like the levity, like the radiance that you have right now, the light that you have, truly, Raina, compared to last time when like you could see that there was like the weight of the world on you.
Yeah.
What an awesome, brave choice. Yay! The other thing that you just
at the same time.
yes. Yes, not without fear. None of those big choices ever are. And that fear, what I often say to clients is when we make a big choice like that, if you're not a little bit scared or not a little bit like, what in the world am I doing? Then I'm actually concerned. When you actually have the fear, I'm not concerned. I'm like, yeah, you did the right thing. So well done.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Oh, I love it. And if you see Danielle just dropped in the chat, like I'm living in the exact same situation and haven't pulled the trigger. So amazing, Raina, that you shared that to maybe give someone else that courage too. Well done. Well done. I love it. Ah, what else? What else is coming up for people?
It's kind of hard to follow that.
I know. I should say the same thing as Rain. No. Danielle will kill me.
No.
I was gonna say.
I know. I want to make clear that the Danielle who said she's in the same situation is not me. There's another Danielle on here.
Yeah. Yeah. Raina, I love what you articulated so beautifully as you shared that, though, is what was happening in my role was impacting everything else in my life, right? And that's why we can't say like work-life balance is like all on one side and all on the other, because it doesn't stay neatly like in this little box over here, whatever's happening, right? So yeah,
Yeah.
like it does go all over the place.
Yeah.
What else for people either who were here last time or new people? What do you want to hear us talk about and solve? Nothing. We're going to solve all the things. We've done it already in one session, right? Okay.
Jill, I'll say, I think I struggle with, like, I know that there are seasons of busyness, but I really struggle with navigating those. Like, even though I'm fully aware that the holidays are coming, or I'm fully aware that the summer's a little bit quieter, and one of our businesses, and then the other one's super busy. Like, I have a really hard time navigating that roller coaster,
Yeah.
and really prioritizing like what's most important in this moment versus everything is important right now, or
Okay.
nothing is important right now.
Uh-huh. Right. And it's so easy to go to either of those extremes. I'm so overwhelmed that nothing is important, or I'm so overwhelmed that everything is important and I can't find the middle ground in between. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, Monica. Well, I'm hoping what we're going to get to today are some really tangible things that will help you navigate that all of the time in many aspects of your life. So let's kind of dive in there. And if you're here, if you're on camera, if you're listening, the one thing I want to ask is grab a piece of paper, have something to write things down with while we're talking. And the reason I say that is not only will it help you track your thoughts and have something, but the other thing, and I may have shared this last time, is when we physically write and hand write things, it actually primes the neurons in our brain for action, as opposed to our brain often likes to think about things, and that tricks our brain into thinking we are doing something about it when we're not actually. We're still just thinking. The actual act of moving that from your brain and handwriting it gets your brain ready to be in action and make a change. So here's the question I want you to reflect on for a second. If you had your ideal work-life integration, right? And we assume that work is part of that, again, unless the independently wealthy are here, and congratulations if you're still choosing work then. But if you had your ideal work-life integration, how would you feel throughout the day or week? So write down, what are generally some feelings that you might have throughout the day or the week?
Overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm. And Nika, is that with your ideal or not with your ideal? You'd rather, so think about if you could create it.
You did say
Yeah.
ideal.
Yep, that's okay.
Yeah.
So what would be the opposite of that for you? Is
Just
it
not
calm?
stressed.
Not
Calm.
stressed? Yeah, calm, ease. Yeah.
Creative.
Ooh, what's important about that one for you, Raina?
For me, I am creative. I'm, artist by, I guess, life. So being able to be creative and just have those thoughts where your mind can just wander, I think is important.
Yeah.
Fulfilled, that's a great one.
Yeah. Hop, if you've got other words that are coming up, those of you who are here, anything, put them in there, like inspire others. I think sometimes we see others' words, we're like, oh, that feels good. Only pick the ones that feel good to you. If we're shoulding on things, I should feel that way. That often means, and I'm going to say, Monica's heard me say this before, the shoulds shit on things, right? Shoulds are usually based in what we feel obligated to do, or guilt. If you're like me, you were raised Catholic, we got all kinds of things that we should and feel guilt about, right? So not the things you should feel. Think about what you want to feel. So we saw fulfilled, zen, creative. Nika had said, what did you remind me? What did you?
Just like less stress, or like less overwhelmed.
Yeah. Can we reverse those? Sometimes when we say less of something, our brain can't figure out exactly what that is. So what's the opposite of overwhelmed, or the opposite of stressed for you?
Just free.
Free. Okay. More
Yeah.
freedom. You want to feel more freedom. Yeah. Yeah. More free in your day. Monica said in flow. Yeah. Flow is that like natural state where you can just do the things. Being true to yourself. Ooh, Leah, such a good one. Energetic. Leah, I want to go back. Can you join us on camera or by voice? What would being true to yourself look like in your day to day? Or you can drop it in the chat.
Hi, sorry, I'm eating lunch too.
Oh. All is welcome here.
Yeah, just being authentic and living the life that I was gifted to live and not trying to do things that's not right for me. So, just heart being happy with the path that I'm on.
Yeah. Oh, I love that motion you just did. Like it's very centered, like feeling really true to who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Right in your core. Beautiful. Yeah. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else, other words or thoughts as I think about how they want to feel in their day to day? Okay. I'm gonna give you the next question. And this is like true coaching, right? Coaching is often I'm asking questions to help you dig deeper in what's important to you. So here's the next one. The next one is if you had your ideal work-life integration, what values would you be embodying as you went about your week? And I want to say something quickly about values. Values are about what you internally, intrinsically find important to you. They're things that you have to have in your life to feel fulfilled and really excited about it. This is different. Values are different than ethics and morals. Ethics and morals are often the shoulds or the societal standards that are created. You may still choose that those are your values, and you don't have to, right? There are other things. So in honoring your values, it's almost like what Leah said. In honoring our values, there's permission to be authentically ourselves in every space that we show up in. We get to be us. So if you think for a second, what values would you want to be living out as you go about your week? And you can feel free to drop those in the chat as well. And I apologize if all of a sudden you can hear a chicken in the background. I think there's one that just came on our front porch that got out of the coop today. So, okay, values. We've got freedom, authenticity, generosity. Lisa, honest and truthful.
Giving
Raina,
more
yeah.
attention to my family.
Ooh, yeah. Okay. What would that look like if you say giving more attention to your family?
Well, I mean, that's if they can just see my face more.
Okay. Yeah. So it's presence, just being with them.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. Great.
I know it's
Imagine if
weird
you
because
could.
I work from home, but I'm literally like behind these two computer screens all
Yeah.
day.
Yeah. Imagine if you could both be creative and they could see your face.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Honesty and accountable. That was Danielle. What was important about naming those two for you when you think about those values?
Well, when I think about kind of the opposite, where you don't have the perfect or the ideal work-life integration, sometimes you're saying yes to things that you don't really want to do. Sometimes you're missing certain things because you're focused on another thing. So I think if I'm being honest, I would say no to the things I really don't want to do and yes to the things I really do want to do. And that would, kind of put my life more in balance. And therefore, if you're doing the things that you want to do, generally you're getting them done, you're accountable, and you're not missing things.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're feeling good about the things you say yes to, right? I think all of us know that feeling of when we say yes to something and it's like not even a full second after and we're like, oh, Like the dread has already come up, or the I shouldn't have done that, right? Like we all know that feeling. Yeah. So
Especially
being
with
able,
kids stuff, you get asked to volunteer for things and you feel bad, but because of your kids, so you agree to it, and then I'm stressed because I'm like, I don't have time to do this. Why did I agree to do this? And I hate doing
yes.
it.
Yes, yes. My favorite letter that I've seen a few, like this is a digression, but that I've seen a few PTOs from school send out that is like, I will donate this much, I will volunteer this much, or like, here's my check for an amount of money. Don't contact me to volunteer or donate anything the rest of the year. Right. So like, let's just get rid of the guilt and like do it all in one shot. Yeah. Yeah. Leah, you said non or less judgmental. I don't think that's immoral. Like, if that's what's important to you, that's something that you take a stand for and that you can't have or feel authentic in yourself without, you're exactly where you need to be. So there's nothing wrong with that at all. What I do often try to do is flip it, being like non-judgmental or less judgmental is like, what is like, almost like I said to Nika before, like, what's the opposite of judgmental for you? Do you have an idea of what that might be for you, Leah? She might be eating or gotten pulled away, but
Just
there she
being
is.
being hard on people, high expectations, demanding.
Okay, so what would be the opposite of that? Like if we reframed it to something that feels good to you, is it being more open to people? Is it
54 million.
Open, appreciative of them,
You're the number one wallet. He goes, yes.
okay?
just
Um,
lighter
Are you
attitude
serious?
to
He's like,
others.
yeah. I'm like, send me $1 from that wallet. And so
Okay.
he sent me $1.
Leah, is that I can't tell, is that your background noise or is that somebody else's? Or just notice if you're not talking. If you don't mind muting. Thank you. I don't think that was you, Leah. I think it was somebody else. Yeah. Okay. So maybe, so one of the ways sometimes when we get focused on what we don't want to do, then we are constantly almost at this place of criticizing ourselves or being negative because we're constantly picking at those things. As opposed to if we reframe that to say, what would it look like to be more appreciative? And then you start to look for ways that you can demonstrate the ways that you are actually successfully being appreciative as opposed to the opposite. So sometimes it's just that little flip. So if you find yourself at that place, just like Nika said earlier, like, oh, overwhelmed, like less overwhelmed, like, okay, that's a good thing. But what if we switch that to this other space where we can look for here are the places I'm actually at ease? And part of that is what we're doing is trying to counteract our brain trick. Our brains look for what they want to look for. It's called confirmation bias. We do it without even thinking about it, right? And so the idea is if we can switch saying overwhelmed, because then our brain is looking for all the places we're overwhelmed, to here's all the places I'm actually feeling more ease, we start to see that more, right? So here's all the ways, Leah, where you're demonstrating your appreciativeness of people. That's what your brain will look for. Any other values? Monica, you said freedom, authenticity, and generosity. Is there any specific one of those that speaks to you right now?
That's a good question. I will probably the authenticity piece. I think we've had some conversations about how I show up in the world and really leaning into being bold and being myself rather than the opposite. So
okay. So what would, if you were in your full authenticity, what would be different? How would I know you were living in your full authenticity? What would I see?
you might see me speak up first to answer a question or say yes to something that I feel that I might otherwise feel unqualified for an opportunity.
Okay. This is unfair to Monica because I was just with her yesterday in another meeting, right? And so we were talking about what if you show up in your full competence and confidence, claiming that? What happens then? Like, how is the world changed when we show up fully in ourselves? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So now that we've thought about how you want to feel, and we've thought about the values that feel really important to have in your day or week. Now we're going to go to what you want to be doing. And the reason I say that is oftentimes clients will come, especially if they're in a career change, and they'll say like, oh, I just want to change my career. Okay, good. But we haven't actually gotten to the root cause or the root things of what you want. So here's what I want you to be thinking about next. What do you want to do? What would you be doing as you go about that day or week? Oh, are we good? Okay, back. I could hear myself. It was crazy. So what do you want an ideal day or week? What would it look like? And you can almost think about it in chunks, right? So sometimes if I think about what my ideal day would like, assuming that I have ideal work-life integration, because I do still have to work, is what would happen before my workday starts? Maybe even it's when my workday starts. What would the morning half of my workday look like if I took like a typical schedule? What might my afternoon look like? And then what does my workday look like or my life look like after, air quotes, my workday? So thinking about what would it look like? What would you be doing during those times? What would your day or week look like from start to finish? What are you noticing as you start to jot down things about this?
I noticed though, as I put that down, there are actually days I do have like this. So it's not like this is a foreign day. It's just not every day.
Yeah, beautiful, right? And Danielle, when you say that, part of that is awesome. You're probably already living some of what your ideal is. And that's great, right? Sometimes we have those moments when we actually reflect on this and we go like, actually like, way to go, self. I'm actually doing the thing the way that I wanted to. And then other times we have the, ooh, I'm a little farther away from that where I want to be than where I might want to be. And so how do we move or make those little adjustments to get closer? And even when we're in that great place, and this is what I tell clients all the time, Danielle, is okay, cool. If you're realizing that pretty frequently you're in that space, how can we turn it up even a little more? Is there just a little more that we could do to even make that higher and better in different ways? What else are people noticing as they write this down? And Raina, what I would share with you is when I have clients who come to me and say this, like I'm looking for my next thing, then we use those values and how you want to feel to evaluate the next opportunities. So do I think that this is what I would get in that? How would I feel? What would it look like? Do I get to be creative in whatever
Right.
my next role is, right? So it's getting really clear on those things so we can figure out that next step. Oh, Leah, more time for self-care. And Liam, you can drop it in the chat too. Like, what would self-care look like to you? How do you define self-care for you? Because some people, it's all like bubble baths and books, which is not wrong. And for others, it's, I want to be able to hike. It's, I know a conversation I had with Nika, it's, I want to be able to work out every morning. This is important to me. This is what I need. Right. So, what would self-care look like for you? So now that we know a little bit more about what this looks like, oh, relaxed morning coffee. Preach. Yes. Morning coffee that isn't as we're running out to the vehicle or to the next things. Stretches, meditation daily. Yeah, even if it's 5 minutes, right? Of just that time to center yourself. Absolutely. So now that you've thought about your ideal and thinking about where you are now, we talked last time about 1% changes, right? What's a 1% change from your ideal or from your current to your ideal that you could make? And Danielle, that can be, how can you make the things that seem pretty much mostly in alignment 1% better, right? What's 1%? And we talked last time about 1%, right? Oftentimes when we think about change, we want to go from 1 to 10. It's all those people who show up on the gym on January 1st, like, I am starting that fitness routine today, right? As opposed to, if we talk about 1%, and this is what James Clear talks about in the book Atomic Habits, 1%, if we're just 1% better each day, that's that's 37 times better by the end of the year, right? So just 1%. Does anybody have a 1% that they already have noticed when they talk about their day now versus their ideal, or a change that they tried to make since last time? Raina went like 10% different, maybe a little more, which is great. Also, that's not wrong. There are times, and Raina, I want to acknowledge this, there are times when you've sat with it and you're real clear and you just needed that nudge, because my guess is leaving your job wasn't something that all of a sudden you'd already been thinking about it before you showed up at this webinar. It was not a oh, I've been inspired in this hour and I'm going to do this, right? Like, it was already there. Anybody else, a 1% or a change they made after last time?
Well, since it's so quiet, I'll jump in, and it's minor, but I started reading books on my iPad again. I used to read a lot because I commuted on a train and I sat there for a half hour, and now I don't, and kind of got away from it. But I am midway through a book, so I'm not going quite as fast, but instead of just turning on TV or looking at, whatever, social media, like actually reading. So.
Yeah. What are you noticing that fulfills in you, Danielle, that might not have been getting fulfilled before?
That's a good question. Well, I mean, I enjoy reading, so like I'm finding the joy in it again, because I think sometimes you think reading is like, oh, I gotta find a book, and setting aside time.
I'm hearing you saying like you're finding more joy.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Anyone else? Okay, so let's go to the next step, because this is where we go from here's where we are now to how are we going to do this in the future, right? When there's not a webinar every month that says, hey, how are you going to make a change? Or what do you want to change? Or even just pausing you to pause and reflect on what you want in your life. Sometimes it's what's going to give me the structure or kind of the scaffolding to do this on my own. And so I want to share something with you that that I created for myself actually a year ago, when I realized I was in over my head because I said yes to a million things. And another coach colleague had to call me on it and go, you're in over your head. How do we not get here again? Because I know what your tendencies are. You're helping. I can do this, right? And so this is what I created, and we'll go back to this in a second. I'm going to skip ahead 2 slides to give you an idea. But this is what I did last year for myself. And so what you see at the top is this is the value that I want to embody. And that value is presence. Wherever I am in all my commitments, I want to be present and truly there. And for me, when I thought about what that meant, I had to break it down into 3 different things. One was my talents. What do I know I'm good at? 2, what's the capacity I actually have in my life? And 3, what are the margins? Because at first for me, presence was like, oh, I've got talent and I've got capacity. But when it all went off the rails was when I didn't honor the margin. I needed to have margin for things to go off the rails. And so what you see under each of these are, here's the value. Here's my definition of that. This is what I need to have for me to make this happen. That's what it looks like. And then under it are the questions I ask myself that help me check in with myself. Am I doing the thing I want to do? Am I living the way I want to live? So what I want to challenge you to do here for a second is, as you think about what that value is. So Leah, if it's honoring self-care, right? Here's what self-care means to me. And how am I checking in with myself? If it's being more at ease in work, if it's Raina, creativity, right? Living in my creativity. Here's what creativity means to me. Here's how I want to check in with myself on what creativity means. So challenge you just to kind of start drawing out a few things, start scribbling down some ideas. And I'm happy to share this template with anyone if this is helpful for you to actually have this template. I can share the slides, and I know Danielle's recording to share with everyone, but I'm happy to share that. You can just put your email in the chat and I'll send it to you after. But what are the things? What is the value you want to honor? How do you define that for yourself? And what questions help you examine if you're living it? And if you're stuck and you're like, hey, lady, good talk. I don't know what you're talking about. Jump on. Or if you're stuck with, how do I ask a question about this? I'm going to give you just a little bit more time to keep scribbling things down, because I'm seeing for those on screen, their heads keep going down and it looks like they're writing. So keep going.
Can we walk through mine, Jill? I'm a little.
I would love to. Yes,
little
Nika, what do
stuck.
you, yeah, that's great. I love it. Yes. Tell me more. Where are you stuck?
Okay, so my value would be like just feeling like more at ease.
Right.
I know like my talents are like just getting a lot done at one time and just being able to juggle multiple projects. But like with capacity, it's just like, okay, I can only do so much.
Mhm.
I can't do everything.
Yeah. So let's back up for a second, because you don't have to have talent, capacity, and margins. That's just how I define presence. So let's go
Okay.
back for a second. How do you define ease for yourself?
I would say ease would be like in my mind, even though like I know everything is not a rush, but it's like I still try to treat everything like I need to get it done like right away. So it's like I want to feel like less like I don't have to like respond to everyone at once. So I don't have to get this done like right this second. I mean, there is always tomorrow, but it's like with me, it's like I don't like to keep people waiting. So that's where I want to like just feel more at ease. Like they'll be all right. Like I'll
Yeah.
get back to them.
Okay. Okay. So we might develop questions, might jump around. So one is a question that helps you evaluate potentially if you're feeling at ease is, how rushed or hurried am I feeling in my day-to-day? Or even like if you want to look at a day in total, is like, what percentage of my time feels rushed or hurried right now?
Okay.
One of the ways, Nika, as I look at that, if you were to define ease, it could be I recognize that people are going to be okay if they have to wait a little bit for something. Or I'm honoring that people are competent and that waiting isn't hurting anything or anyone. What's coming up for you, Nika, as I kind of frame those things back to you? What are you noticing now?
Just thinking about just how to do it for me personally, like just thinking about like things that I can do.
What are things? Yeah. Okay.
And that's
So
the hard part. That's why I'm stuck.
okay.
That's why I'm right here
That's where
with
you're
you.
stuck. Okay. Yep. Okay. So do you want, I want to check in with you. Do you want to problem solve for a little bit? Do you want specific strategies, or do you want, how do I want to think about this?
Specific strategies.
Okay. Okay. So one, let me throw it there and we can brainstorm and you tell me if this works for you. Is it adding a signature line or something under your signature line that says non-emergency responses may take up to a certain amount of time? Or non-urgent responses may take this amount of time for me to respond. Is it
anxiety thinking about
I
right
know,
now.
I'm like watching you like,
I'm like, no,
okay.
I can't put that. I'm like, we have a magazine. I can't do that.
Why? What's the story you have about that?
I mean,
You said
it's
we
like
have
a
a
lot of
magazine.
my job is based on deadlines.
Mhm.
So it's like certain days you got to do like everything. So I don't know if I can do that. Give me another strategy.
Okay. Okay. Good knowledge of like, nope, I can't. That is not one I can do. So, what would it be like, and to challenge yourself right now to even go through your emails and go, these are the ones that I don't have to answer today, and make yourself wait till tomorrow?
That I can do.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that might be a strategy, Nika, of just having, as you go through a day, whether it's a color coding system of like, these emails are red, these are urgent, I have to respond today, versus these emails are green, they can wait a day. And you might have to reevaluate tomorrow, right? If it was green today, tomorrow, is it a yellow, like, oh, got to get back to it, right? But it might just be the practice a little bit of sitting with like, I actually can take the time, one, to be intentional and go, this isn't actually as urgent as it feels. It can wait. And two, making yourself wait. Because it sounds like that might be a new skill. It's like, ooh, I'm just going to wait. I'm going to make myself do the thing.
Yeah, I actually like that. I think I can definitely do that.
Okay. Okay. The other thing I always encourage people in this, I don't know if this is your particular situation, Nika, is take your work email off your phone. If it's not a work phone, do you need to be looking at emails outside of office hours? Maybe not.
That part I'm pretty good at. Like if I'm
Okay.
on, like
Awesome.
vacation or off, I really don't.
Good. 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 Good.
That's the
Good.
one
Good.
thing I can say that I think that majority of the people do like tend to like look at their work emails. I really like when I'm at
Good.
work, I tend to let that be my time.
Good. So other people, if you can't figure out how to do that, Nika's the person that you're PMing right now to go, how in the world did you make this happen? Right? Like we don't have to learn this on our own. Other people have tricks and strategies. So yeah. So Nika, that might be something I say, like being at ease might mean that one of the practical things that you do for yourself is you decide, whether it's a color coding system or however you want, that what are the most urgent emails that you need to do. Yeah. Monica just said, I love this priority matrix. Yeah. Yes, she's shared this before. Yeah. What are the most important things? Importance and urgency. I also want to say that we each have to define urgency for ourselves and importance for ourselves, because it's very easy for somebody else's emergency to become ours if we're not really clear about what those are. Right. So Nika, that might be, as you're looking at this, importance might be who the client is or what that looks like, or if it's new versus old business for the magazine, whatever the magazine decides is important at that point. And then urgency might be based on your deadlines. What current deadlines are you looking at? And this is how you evaluate it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you,
So
Monica.
that might be, yeah. So that might be a way to think about ease. I love, Nika, that you were like, I'm not getting this. This is awesome. I want to be really clear as I put this up. This template was just mine. So essentially, if you're thinking about what you want for yours, is you can put your value at the top. Then you can put how you define it. How would you know that you're living in that value? And then your questions at the bottom, right? What are the questions that help you identify this? Who else is stuck? Or who else is like, yeah, I kind of got this and I'm proud of what I wrote down. I would love to hear that too. Monica, can I challenge you? You're willing to share anything?
Sure.
Thank you.
So I used authenticity as my value. Do you want me to just tell you what I wrote and then we can go from there?
Yeah, if you're willing to share, that would be awesome.
Okay, so my three word definition, if you will, is nurturing, compassionate guide. And then I don't really know how this, I don't know how this all fits in, but what I know of myself is I can help people even when I don't have all the answers. And sometimes fear gets in the way of serving authentically.
What is the fear based in?
That's a good question. I'm sure there's enoughness in the background and also the knowing, like the confidence.
Okay. Okay. So the statement that just came up for me as you were saying that, it kind of melded with what you had before, is essentially the idea that I am enough to be able to help confidently without having to have every answer. Right? So maybe that's a definition you can consider. Or it could be questions around that, right? Is fear getting in the way of me helping here? Question mark. Right? Or is
Yeah.
fear telling me that I don't have all the answers, even though I know I can still help when I don't? Right? So it might be some of those questions that help you evaluate when you realize you're stuck. Yeah.
Yeah.
What else is there for you? Anything else coming up?
That's all I got.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. Anyone else want to share where they're at?
I would like to share.
Yeah. Hey, Isabel. Thanks for
Hi.
sharing.
Okay, well, I think my value is accountability. So maybe you can help me, I guess, like put a better word to it, or help me decide if that's the word to go with.
Okay.
But so I work for myself at the moment, and I'm about to like go into like a new business venture with a family member.
Mhm.
But now that somebody else is going to be involved, I have like other people's feelings and other like I have to be like accountable. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's not just me. So like if I miss something, like right now, currently, if I miss something, like it's okay because it's just me having to deal with the consequences, but now it'll be somebody else.
Mhm.
So I think my word is accountability. I think my value is
Okay.
accountability. I
Okay.
find myself sometimes acting out of fear, like when I get overwhelmed with like just wanting to do more and know more.
Mhm.
I'm like, I feel like I'm behind, like I should know this, or I should be like educating myself daily on new things, and then just getting like a million things done at the same time. Like I think I'm not being as productive as I can be,
Okay.
maximizing my day. Um
Let me
anyway,
hold
so
up one thing, Isabel. I want to hold up one thing you
yes.
just said, is you said
Mhm.
should.
Yeah, I think I
I
should be.
should. I should. And shoulds, I said it before, and it's like my favorite thing, but the shoulds shit on things, right? So shoulds
Mhm.
make us feel like there's like a guilt. It's motivated by
Yeah.
something almost like negative, as opposed to what I just heard you say. You said is I should, air quotes, be learning things every day.
Hmm.
Is learning actually a value of yours?
I think so. I think like being as knowledgeable as I can.
Okay. So instead, what if we reframe that? And again, we'll go back to the accountability piece because this might be a little separate.
Yeah.
Is I value continuing to learn and be
Hmm.
knowledgeable about things.
Hmm.
Right. And that's not shoulding it. It's I actually value this. I want to seek it out as opposed to this and seek it out in the right scenarios. Right. We're not going to seek it out of fear or out of shoulding. It's out of like, I actually value this and I'm going to choose to learn this because it helps me be accountable and dependable for the person I'm working with or I'm in
Yes.
business with. Yeah. So dependability was the other word I heard around accountability. You choose what's right for you, but essentially the essence of it, what I heard you say, and you're the expert on you, so you push back if you're like, nope, didn't totally get it, is you really want to be reliable for this other person. You wanna honor that relationship and the business together by being reliable and dependable and accountable to what you say you're going to do and getting things done.
Hmm.
Is that the
Yeah.
essence of it?
Yes, that is exactly the essence of it. Yeah, sometimes I maybe procrastinate, or like I think like they're doing more than like what I'm doing, and I'm like, how can I contribute more? So yeah, there's a lot of guilt.
Yeah.
I deal with a lot of guilt in my life.
Welcome to the
So,
club, right?
yeah.
As one of my coach friends says, if you spot it, you got it. So usually if I can see it in somebody else, it's because I know what is lacking me, right? So yeah, absolutely. So how can we reframe that from the guilt of it to here's how I want to show up in my best self, reliable and honoring this relationship with my business, who might also be family.
Wait,
So when we think,
can you say that one more time? Sorry.
yep. Yeah. So sometimes the question I would ask is, how can I show up as my best self for my family member?
I think like consistency and communication, which I've really been trying to do. Because like I said, up until this point, it's just been me. So, I'm on my own schedule, my own flow, and just considering my own feelings. So now I'm like, okay, like, the best thing you can do is just speak up. So I've been doing that. Yeah, I think consistency and communication. And yeah, like just trying. I think, that's all we can do is just try.
Yeah. So one of the things that you could think about if you want to draw something up like this or even write it out for yourself is what are my behaviors that show that I'm being consistent? Right? So what are the things that you would see yourself doing every day that embody consistency or that demonstrate that not that somebody else is going to checklist you on them, that you feel good about saying, these are the things that show that I'm being consistent.
Yeah.
It could also be, what are the behaviors that show I'm communicating? Here's what I want communication to look like. Because the other thing I heard you say in that, what was the laugh there? Tell me more.
I was like, this is good. These are good questions.
Yeah.
Good.
And sometimes it's just, how would I know I'm doing it? Because the other thing I heard you say in that was, you said, if I'm feeling something, I want to communicate it. So part of that might also be, how am I listening to what I'm feeling to ensure that I'm communicating it?
I'm writing all this.
Yeah, this is great. I will put, and I shared this at the end of the last session as well. Any of you, if you want to dig into this more and work one-on-one, like we're kind of doing it in a group setting right now to help people kind of start to have that moment to kind of flesh it out. But any of you can sign up for a free coaching session with me, and I will sit there and work this through with you the whole time, right? I think the other thing that's really important, and this is why I say, what are the questions you want to ask yourself, is essentially we're trying to build the skill set that allows you to reflect in process about this. And this is how I use these questions for myself. So things to think about is, I want to think about these questions on a regular basis. So is this something I'm going back to monthly? Am I actually making an appointment in my calendar to go, hey, take some time to reflect? Am I going to, do I have other colleagues who are like, hey, how are you doing on that thing? But what is it that actually holds me accountable to this? The second time is, before I take on something new, before I show up and do something new, I want to ask myself the questions of, am I living in these values? Are these important to me right now? Is this the right thing for this season? And the third thing is, if I should continue the old, right? Sometimes when we get really clear about our values, like Isabel, for you, as you're going into business with somebody else, there might be some things that you always did for yourself and in your own business that worked really well. And is this going to work in this partnership? Are these things still serving us, or do we need to slightly tweak or do something different to ensure that we're honoring what we want for our business together? Yeah. So these are the 3 times that I'm using these kinds of questions, because I want them built. I remember I was in one of the local businesses here, and somebody said, hey, can you help with this thing? Long story short, we had a massive fire in our town, a massive wildfire that went through last year, and about 250 houses and structures were lost. And she was organizing Christmas for these families. And she said, hey, can you help? You want to be one of the people who helps get Christmas gifts for these? And every fiber of my being was like, wow, this is an incredible cause. And when I looked at one of the questions on here, which was, which one was it? Do I enjoy this commitment 90% of the time? This is not something I would have enjoyed 90% of the time, because some of the other people who were involved in it are lovely humans, but not humans that I want to spend more time with, right? If I'm really honest with myself, it would have been one of those things that I would have said yes to, And 30 seconds later, been like, why the F did I just do that? This is not what I want to be doing with my time wholeheartedly, right? So that's where when we've had these questions and time to prepare that ahead of time, we're more ready for what happens in the future to go, is this actually the place that I want to be? So I am going to drop, we're on like the last 3 minutes. So one, what are you committing to now? What do you want for yourself? Is it committing to actually drawing out these values for yourself? Is it that change that you thought about more? Is it committing to scheduling a coaching session with me to go, hey, I actually want to do this? And that link is right there on the bottom. It's that Calendly. Oh, sorry, internet. It's that Calendly link. I'll drop it in the chat. But if you want to coach through any of this, either it's you don't have the questions yet, you're not sure about what's going on in your life. If you're Raina and you're like, I'll make a big change and I've been thinking about it and I'm not sure how to do it, reach out. I'm happy to talk with anyone about this and really help you drill down to a tool that's really going to help and serve you as you do these things. Isabel, I can like see your mind working. Like there's so much, like the gears are just turning up there right now as you're pondering all of this.
Definitely. But this is good. Like these are good. Like you said, this is like we're building this skill set to like ask ourselves these questions when we're like by ourselves. And so like we can, I think it's like just to better our self-talk. That's what I was like thinking. I was like, this is all like improving our self-talk in a sense, because like the way we speak to ourselves on like the same thing is like, what are the questions we're asking ourselves instead of beating ourselves up like with guilt? It's like we can just ask, how can I show up as my best self? What does better communication look like? What does better accountability look like? Instead of like getting overwhelmed, we can just like stop and like be like, okay, let's break it down.
Yeah. And again, I want to be really, whatever it is, what I want to say too is like our habits and our patterns, the neural pathways in our brains have probably been driving down the same streets of criticizing ourselves or going to those default things. So yeah, this habit will take time to change, but to be able to go like, oh, I'm beating up on myself. What's a different question I can put in here that actually honors myself differently? Right? Yeah. So it takes some time to rewire those and drive down those new streets. Like as a human, right? If you're a human who drives the same way to the same places all the time, our brain does the same thing. So we're just trying to build new roads. So be gentle with yourself. The first step, Isabel, is doing exactly what you just said, is noticing, hey, I'm doing this other thing. I'm beating up on myself, or I'm gonna switch. Here's a different question I can ask. Here's a different way I can be with myself. Yeah. And I've got a whole other presentation on that too. That's about inner critics, but yeah, absolutely. So we have just 2 minutes. Oh, we're at time. So I want to, if you have questions, I'll stay here for a second. You can drop them in the chat, but also I want to turn this back over if Danielle has more announcements or things that she needs to do as well. So thank you again.
I do. Thank you so much. Let me quickly, because I do just want, I always like to share what is upcoming. Sorry, there we go. So, I think that our next session really ties into what we've been doing at the workshops with Jill. So the Women's Laundry Network, what we decided at the beginning of the year, there's a task force who helps create these events, and we really wanted to focus on a certain topic each quarter. So obviously for this quarter, it was work-life integration. For the last part of the year, makes sense with holidays and all of that, it's wellness and women's health. So kind of tying into some of the things that Jill taught us is we're going to do a session on changing habits. Jill touched on it a little bit, like what can you do, 1% to kind of make that change. So it will be a little bit more of an open discussion. Hopefully people will be a little bit vulnerable in sharing things they maybe would like to change. And what our goal will be is in December, we're going to do a virtual kind of holiday celebration and open it up to anybody who wants to share how they made a change. If you tried something new, you stopped doing something, you say no, whatever it is, if you're open to it. It'll also be a fun little networking event. So, and I'm sorry, I didn't put that date up here, but the link down there, the events calendar, is where all of our events are. So hopefully you can join us on October 23rd. We do try to mix around times because we know everybody's work schedule is a little different. We found that we call them our coffee power hours, whatever beverage you want to bring at 9 in the morning. But sometimes starting off the day is a little easier because your day gets away from you. So that one will kick off in the morning, 9 a.m. Central Time. And sorry, Monica, I know that is extremely early for you. Anyone on the West Coast. Few other events that CLA does. They're called Connect Live events, and these are just smaller local events, usually under 50 people. We do a 2-hour dinner networking. So if you're looking to meet more people in the industry, these are great events to go to. So here are the last ones we have coming up for this year. Next year, it'll be a whole other set of events. And then, of course, we do some large national events. I shared with Jill when I got on, we have this event next week. So it's crazy in our office trying to get ready for it. So for those of you who have never attended, might be a little late to make that decision now. It is a great event in Nashville, but for anybody who does plan on being there, there will be a presence of the Women's Laundry Network. Monica, who is our chair, will be there. We're going to have a table. We give away some fun little wine-themed giveaways. We're going to do a photo of all the women there. So if you're there, there will be plenty of other women in the network to connect with. If you'd like to make a last-minute decision to come, you can. We are getting registrations probably while I was on this webinar. People make very last-minute decisions. So with that, Jill, it has been great to have you for these last 2 sessions. Learned a lot, have a lot of things written down. Everyone should see in the chat her link. Both, I know Nika and I did a free coaching session. I'm not sure if anybody else, I think Monica maybe has done some, and very beneficial. So
yes, I would encourage everyone on here to schedule one as soon as you get off the phone before you even forget about it with Jill. It was amazing.
Yeah, definitely worthwhile. So this was recorded. I will post this or I'll have someone post this on our YouTube channel. And then I typically will send out an email with the recording so you know it's there. So if you missed the first one, you want to go back to either one of them, you would have that opportunity. You want to share with a colleague, you can do all of that. It's open to all of that. So thank you very much, everyone. And I hope to see everyone at our October event.
Thanks, Danielle. Thanks, Jill.
Thank you.
Bye. Have a good day.
Thank you so much. Have a good day.